Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow, and in today's episode, I'm going to do a more detailed analysis of fan letters, and this stems from basically someone asking a question about the my anime list that I'm doing and how I'm going through each year, talking about the different animes and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, they're asking me sort of like, well, how do you know these things about episodes, and how do you know how popular they were, and how available they were, like how you know. And so I'm going to tie that into this episode about fan letters and that kind of stuff, and how that relates, and at the same time, do more details about a fan letter. Okay, so before we begin, I want to remind everyone to go down below, click subscribe, and again, thank you very much for all your support. I've now hit 1,000 subscribers, so I thank all the subscribers for that are sticking with me and supporting the channel. I'm also going to remind everyone to, if you haven't been able to take advantage of the anime swag giveaway that I've got, go back to an episode or two and look at that. And if that's something that you want to try to do, then please go ahead and do that. Because I'll take it down in the next week or so. And again, I also got a previous episode where I talk about my experiences going through magazines and going through this kind of thing. So again, if you want to try to get that experience, to try to get that sort of feel, just like this episode here, trying to get the feel and the experience of writing letters. If you want to get that sort of thing, go ahead. I invite you to give that a try. Okay, and of course the other thing you need to do is click that bell, because obviously that's the only way you know when I put new videos on YouTube. All right. Okay, so in this episode, I'm going to be putting up the letters and that kind of stuff, and of course I'll edit out any of the sensitive personal information and that kind of stuff. But at least you can see the letter, and you can read along if you like. Maybe if you don't, then this would be more suitable as a podcast for you. But again, I'll go through it and add information and kind of clarify, help bring in the the kind of the environment for you, so that you can kind of get a good feel of what it's like, and then sort of go through it and sort of explain all the different parts as I go along. All right. So without further delay, let's begin. Okay, so we'll just do a quick speed through. So now in the previous episode, I basically outlined how I basically go through and get the CFO list from the Victoria chapter of the CFO, Nicholas Condor. Basically gave me a list of all the different CFO chapters, and then from that I basically contacted all the various different chapters directly to find out who and some of the members, and basically pay the membership fee and basically join their club. So in this particular example, I joined the CFO Denver, and then they gave me then a membership list of all the other various members and how to contact the various different other members. And then from there, I was able to write a letter, and it's just sort of again, this is on on an Apple II computer. Back in the days, when I was still going, first year at university, and so I wrote a letter and sent it to all the various different members. Okay, and it'd basically something like, hi, my name is William. I'm new in animation and that kind of stuff, and I'm looking to talk to other members and of your organization, and learn and share more anime type of thing, right? And of course, I'd say some of my favorite titles at this time would have been, like Gundam, Zeta Gundam type of thing, Double Zeta Gundam. I probably would really like to say something like Orgus and Macross, Megazone 23 probably, and Ixer 1. Those type of shows would have been probably on my list of things that were my favorite at the time, right? And then maybe come up with some questions like, what do you like, and what are your favorite animes? Do you listen to soundtracks and that kind of stuff, and kind of send that to all these people. Okay, so now what I've done here is I've pulled up a response letter. So after I send this letter would come back. Okay, and then so I'm going to go through this letter and sort of stop and explain things as I kind of go along. Right. So let's begin here. All right. So after I in the previous example, just to protect identity, I'll refer to this person as Cindy. All right, and she writes back a letter, and as follows: Dear William, thanks for your letter. I always enjoy hearing from new people, especially fellow Japanimation fans. Like she uses the word Japanimation instead of Japanese animation, but that's all right. It's nice to meet you. Now you can also notice that this person is take the time to handwrite these letters. Okay, so this is not even ruled paper that she's writing on, and it's very very neat penmanship here. Which again takes lots of time and effort. I realize that in the modern era, you just sit at your typewriter and you just pick and peck, and some people have really fast typing skills. It doesn't take much time to do this, but you can tell actually physically handwriting a letter of this neatness is quite a feat too, right? Anyway, continue on. I am a member of the CFO, which is the Cartoon Fantasy Organization, as you know, under the Denver chapter. Okay, and so I got her contact information through the CFO Denver chapter, which has the membership list. Although I don't usually find much time to attend meetings, I am 20 years old, and I am a first-year student at the University of Colorado of Denver. So again, I'm going to the University of BC in Vancouver at this time too. Oh, may I also mention that although it's not shown, the date on this letter is February 7th, 1988. Okay, so that gives you an idea of the timeline here we're talking about here. Okay, so the first letter that I got from her is from 1988 February. So again, we're sort of already in the second semester because so classes start in September 1987. So this is obviously in the new year. We're in the second semester. Okay, so continuing along. I am presently considering a double major in music, which is vocal performance, and electrical engineering. So at this time, I was also taking electrical engineering, and then I later changed to computer sciences. Right. So, interesting combination, huh? As far as hobbies go, I also collect many things: music, comics, Walt Disney, merchandise, and Japanese anything: books, magazines, videos, music. So, again, general terms of general animation fan. I mean, animation, most people will know as things like, Walt Disney, of course. You also have a lot of the Warner Brothers, like Bugs Bunny and that kind of stuff. And then of course all the things like Funimation and that kind of stuff, which is a lot of stuff which I grew up on. I play the piano, violin, and occasionally like to dabble in artwork. So again, an accomplished musician, which is something I wish I was. I see I'm not the only one who likes drawing lifestyle size pictures. Okay, so obviously in my first letter, one of the things that I must have said is that I like drawing too, and one of the things that I have or drawn is a to scale life size version of Minmay. Okay. And so again, I've got a poster of that in my room, where I've basically did the old-fashioned grid map style and drew that out. Okay. She writes, I have one of those of Camille on my wall at present. So she's drawn a life-size picture of Camille from Zeta Gundam on her wall. I have also done one of Arion and Crusher Joe. So she also likes to try her drawing skills. And again, because of the fact that it was really difficult to get animation posters, this is really the way that most of us basically had made our own sort of animation sort of posters by basically drawing them ourselves and trying our own artwork at that. She continues. My favorite Japanese titles are Arion, Crusher Joe, Zeta Gundam, Double Zeta Gundam, Giant Gorg, Area 88, and El Gaim. Okay, now this is really kind of interesting to note that here we are. We are writing a letter of 1988, and you notice that all the titles that we're mentioning, Arion, okay, Crusher Joe, okay, these are relatively old titles by comparison, okay. So something like, for example, Crusher Joe, that's from 1984, so that's like 4 years ago. And Area 88 from 85, so that's 3 years ago. Zeta Gundam, okay, came out in 85, so again, 3 years ago, right? Now, Double Zeta Gundam is still a little bit newer, but still 2 years old. So again, this gives you an idea that even though, we are talking about relative, animes and that kind of stuff, the time we actually get the episodes and the time we actually get some of the animes are several months to several years later, and we still think it's new and current, right? Because the fact that it just takes that long for someone to as I said, record something, send it over here, and then it proliferates enough that we actually get these things. Continue. It says, actually, the list goes on for quite a while, but these are the tops. So those are basically your favorite, right? See, I collect Animedia and New Type regularly. So those are monthly magazines that come out, and so it's good. That's the way how we again get information is from these Japanese magazines. But I have a few copies of others as well: Animage, Anime V, and Anime. Okay, so Animage and it's lots of Studio Ghibli like kind of stuff and that stuff. Anime V, of course, handles a lot more of the OAVAs and that kind of stuff, and movies. Okay. However, other than the pictures and the occasional word or two, they don't help me out too much. I can't read Japanese. Other than the words written in katakana alphabet, which is, and again, I mentioned that in my previous episode, is that a lot of people think that okay, these magazines, although written in Japanese, they do provide a lot of the contextual stuff. We can't obviously most of us can't read enough of it to get the plots or synopses or juicy gossip or anything that about the animes, but it does give us a lot of information about and a lot of close-ups about at least pictorially, things like characters, sort of flow of story sometimes, the relationships between characters and that kind of stuff, and of course it gives us basically access to the goods, right? And that was sort of the biggest thing for us is how to get more kinds of anime and more kinds of things related to them, like the memorabilia, of course, the that kind of stuff. The other neat thing is that's really important, at least for me at this time, was the animation magazines provide us a schedule, like a TV guide, right? It tells you what episodes are in what order, like at least the title of the episodes will help, and then we can match that up with the title when it shows up on the episode. We can see that okay, that's episode 2 and that's episode 5, and we know what order they go in, right? Anyway, continue on. Her sentence continues, goes, other than the words written in the katakana alphabet, which is used mostly for names, again, usually names for foreign names, but to make up for the I occasionally get copies of the American publications, and at this time there was a few American magazines that talked about Japanese animation, which is Animag and Animazine. I haven't seen the other two that you mentioned, which is Jap Animation and A Viewer's Guide to Japanese Animation. So again, I must have at this time mentioned that some of the books that are out that I kind of got some information about is a magazine called Japanese Animation and A Viewer's Guide to Japanese Animation, which I do believe is out of California or something that made those ones. I get a lot of info from synopsises from friends here and there. I also have the 1986 Bacon Guide
to Japanese animation, which has some good information. So again, this is again from the Bay Animation Club, and they had basically a actual booklet with various different synopsises and different sort of things from different sort of animes. Again, this is from Baycon '86, which again, mentions a lot of animes from basically 1982. So 92, 93. Again, you can see those from my my anime list that I got there. Okay. And so obviously then I would have asked her a bunch of various different questions, like what's her favorite animes, when do you get into anime, that kind of stuff. How do you get your start in anime type of things? Do you collect anything? That kind of stuff. So obviously she now takes the next part of her letter to explain that. She begins. In answer to some of the questions, and I guess the first question is basically how did you get into anime, Japanese animation, or when did you get into Japanese animation? And her answer would have been, I've been into Japanese animation, okay, for about 2 years. So you think, okay, this is 1988. So then that means she got into Japanese animation in 86. Okay, so now literally for me, I got into Japanese animation in 87, which is basically when I first saw Robotech. But the memories go way back to when I was 5. I used to love Speed Racer. Again, I never watched Speed Racer. Then a few years later, I saw Battle of the Planets, okay, which is Gatchaman. That got me hooked. Again, Gatchaman was also another series I did not watch. Then a few years later still, I saw Star Blazers. Okay, now I also kind of saw Star Blazers, but it's one of those type of things where I didn't realize that was sort of Japanese animation, and I never had enough episodes of it to realize it was Japanese animation at that time. So yeah, I saw it, I sort of knew about it, but I didn't realize the Japanese animation, and I really never followed it because it wasn't in the kind of shall we say superhero type of genre, so I never really followed it. And then 2 years ago, I saw Robotech and Voltron. So again, you have to think 1988. She saw Robotech, so she would have saw that in '86. So here we are. You say, for example, Macross, part of the Robotech, right? This is an anime series that was released in Japan in 1982, and here we are. We're talking about it, 6 years later. Like it was like the best stuff ever, right? This is hey, this is what got me into Japanese animation. But we're talking about it literally 6 years later. Okay, so this gives you an idea of this time dilation that we're talking about. Right? So yes, Macross was a new hot thing that just came out in 1982, but by the time it gets over to gets it over here, gets it translated, get it all this other stuff, and gets it distributed so people can see it. We're literally in this case 4 years to 6 years later, it's hitting the audience and it's getting the effect that wow, this is Japanese animation, this is cool, right? So this is what I mean. This time lag between what they get in Japan and what we get over here. I finally said to myself, this is it. I have to find out more about this stuff. Needless to say, the rest is history. So same thing with me. Only early on this year, like last year, which 1987, when I first came down to Vancouver, that's when I found out about Robotech and Macross and all this sort of stuff. So we're not even 6 months later. I'm going crazy and obsessed, if you will, wanting to find more, writing letters to all the CFO chapters and just trying to build up, more, people that I know about Japanese animation, trying to find out where to get videos for Japanese animation. I'm going out to all these little Japanese grocery stores and video stores, trying to see what they have. This is where I discover Sophia's bookstore, saying, hey, there's a bookstore that has Japanese animation. So I'm starting to pick up things from there. I'm constantly going to Chinatown, looking for things that look like Japanese animation. That's where you get a lot of things like Saint Seiya and the Street Fighter comics and all that kind of stuff. All just kind of, that's where I was getting stuff, and I was really excited because I said, this is sort of this sort of era of I really don't know what there is out there, but everything I seem to look at and see and get news of is really exciting because it's new. I don't know what to expect, but it's Japanese animation, so let's just give it a try. Let's see what comes of it, right? She continues. My question probably was, do you collect anything, or what kind of Japanese animation do you collect? And then she writes, I do collect manga and comics. I am in the middle of collecting Yasuhiko Arion manga. So Yaz, okay, so we refer to him. He is very famous for doing things like Arion, Venus Wars, Crusher Joe, and obviously she seems to really like his artwork, and his artwork was really good. Arion was just it was an awesome movie. Crusher Joe obviously came out several years ago as well, back 83, 84. Crusher Joe came out. So again, we're now 4 years later and we're talking about Crusher Joe, right? Being this great movie. The Cosmo Police Justy manga. That's another again another just another video that I just did just the other day. 1985. One of the animes that you should take a look at is Cosmo Police Justy, and she mentions it right here. She's collecting that. I'm trying to get a hold of Yasuhiko's Kudo no Hoshi manga, which is interesting. That's I have a couple of manga books on Mach Go Go Go, which is Speed Racer. I don't care about that show. Crusher Joe, that was really good. She also likes the 5-Star Stories manga, presently running a new type, and as I mentioned that earlier, in the previous episode where we're going through magazines, one of the really big mangas going on right now is 5-Star Stories, because again, there's lots of intrigue. How does it tie into Heavy Metal Elgime and Dunbine and all this other stuff? Is all this that kind of work, and again, with all the influences of Zeta Gundam and that kind of stuff, it's a really exciting series at this time. It's really great stuff. My collection also consists of several American published comics translated from Japanese manga, such as Area 88. Okay, so at this time, there was a few different comics, standalone comics, that were being released in the North America here. And again, Area 88 was one of them. Mai the Psychic Girl, Kamui, which is based off Dagger Kamui. Again, that movie that came out in 85. And Xenon. Okay, so again, so we were getting tricklings of Japanese manga and what it was like here, and this is sort of an indication. We didn't have much, but this is what was starting to get out. And again, we're talking about things that probably came out, like I said, for example, Dagger Kumui was back in 1985, but now it's hitting our shores, and now we're talking about it in 88. So again, this is that time dilation, that lag that we have to deal with at this particular time. Okay, so on the next part, I probably already asked or said that I played role-playing games such as Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and so she writes, I have never played any role-playing games, although I've often thought they looked quite interesting. I know a lot of people who really enjoy them. So obviously, because again, D&D was a big thing at this time. I have a few things that you mentioned on your list. So obviously, I must have given her a short list of some of the things that I actually have in my anime collection, and probably have a few things that I'm looking for, maybe. So she's included a list of both of what she has, both in audio and video. And she writes, nearly all the videos are in very good quality, since I'm kind of picky about that. Again, she basically alludes to note that when obviously we need to be able to physically send a copy of an audio cassette from one place to another, or videotaped, from let's say Japan over here, for us to actually see these animes and to listen to these anime songs and that kind of stuff. Every time we make a copy, because these are analog copies, it's never quite as good as quality as the one before. So every time we make a copy of a videotape, the quality goes down just a little bit. It loses a little bit of its color. Some of the tracking is gone. The video image becomes less stable. Things like that all start happening to the tape. So every time you try to copy something, every generation makes it just that much worse. So one step down, another step down, and so by the time you get to like 5 or 6 copies of a copy of a copy of a copy, the picture is almost unwatchable. The sound is almost you can't hear it, and and the tracking is very difficult. So the picture becomes very unstable. So the video becomes virtually unwatchable. So tape quality and generation was a very big issue. That probably also led to why a lot of the anime titles and that kind of stuff were very poorly distributed, because it was very hard to get people that had good quality copies. And even if what quality copies we had, we were more than happy to take it and get generation copies of whatever we happen to get, because it was just that hard to get. So she continues. Most of those I can get in good copies of. A friend of mine does a lot of copying for me since we are pretty close friends. He doesn't shoot me when I give him a mountain of tapes to copy. Well, you see, there he goes. It's always good to have a person that has basically 2 VCRs set up already ready to go to make copies of videos and that kind of stuff. It was a common thing at this time to have more than one VCR in order to do just this particular purpose, because that was really the only way you could share videos. Why don't you take a look at my list and see if there's anything that you might like to see or copy? And so this is how we usually start, after introducing ourselves and telling each other what our interests are and that kind of stuff. Then we usually do this thing called an exchange of tape lists. So this is basically kind of an inventory of everything that you had, on video or on audio. And then your hope is that somebody, the person you sent the letter to, find something on that list that they're interested in. And then likewise, when they send you back a tape list or and whatnot, there's something on there that you'd like. So therefore, then you can come to an agreement that, hey, I like 2 tapes worth of stuff from you. Can you find 2 tapes of something that I can send you? So therefore, so that makes it so that, I get 2 tapes, I dub whatever they want, and then send that to them, and then at sort of at the same time, or simultaneously type of that idea, they will copy 2 tapes of something that you'd like, and then they'd send it towards you. So then that way you both end up receiving something of and spending about the same amount, both for tapes and for postage, right? It doesn't always work that way, but I mean that's usually how it works, right? Then we'll see if we can work out a trade or something. I'm also glad to make copies of anything if you'd rather just mail some tapes. So failing, to have anything that you could, like a lot of people when they're starting anime and that kind of stuff, they won't really have anything, right? A lot of times I remember, especially as time went on, this case, my tape list got larger and larger until I had probably a larger collection of tapes and that kind of stuff than most of the people I actually corresponded with. But that's fine, because that allowed me to get more variety of different types of animes and things that actually weren't even anime. I started getting copies of Disney stuff and that kind of stuff. That's what she had a lot of, and I was just too lazy to go out and rent them and get them myself. So I can use those for tape trades. She writes, my next question would have been, are there any shows that you would recommend that you see, or that you think are really good that other people should watch, right? So then her answer to that kind of a question would be, there's a couple of shows I'd like to recommend very highly. Okay, and that's always good. Have you seen Robot Carnival? Okay, so this is another one type of things where I guess she's kind of looks through her tape list and she knows, hey, you don't have that movie Robot Carnival written anywhere. And you know, she obviously she watched it and she thought, hey, that movie was pretty cool. I noticed that it's not on your list, so she recommends it. Robot Carnival, right? It's a movie made up of several short stories by different character designers, all concerning robots. The animation is excellent. Hiroyuki Kazame has one in there. So if you like his designs for Double Zeta Gundam, you might be interested. Okay, so basically, she's just telling me that you know, the person who does Double Zeta Gundam has a is one of the artists in Robot Carnival. In addition to, you know, many other artists have also got their designs and robots in this particular movie. So yeah, definitely it was a good movie to, you know, to check out, because it was a sort of you know, an assortment of short stories all about robots, and that was really cool. It was really quite good. She also writes, also Kenitsu Chiki Boyogan, translated to something like Teenage High School Ninja Force. Okay, it ended up eventually getting you know, affectionately translated as Perfectional Earth Defense Force. And she is right. It is really quite good. It's a strange kind of you know, hidden gem anime, and yeah, the stories of the telephone pole team are just hilarious. Anyway, I'll get into that in another episode. I think it's just too funny. It's kind of in the Project A-ko line, and it is. It's kind of one of those action comedy type shows. Yeah. Well, have been babbling on too long. Okay, so as you can notice, like, you know, so now we're on the third page of this letter, and you know, it's although it doesn't seem like as much information or has passed by, but you can tell a lot of time has passed by just reading this passage, and a lot of, you know, sure, you say effort must have been, you know, or time spent must have been used to write such a, you know, this kind of a letter, because, you know, again, you can tell, you know, but the penmanship is still consistent and very nicely well written, even though so much has been written. So it's one of the type of things that again, has been lost. And, you know, with you know, the advent and the advancements in technology and computer, right? Sorry, I get started and I just can't stop, and that's true. You just keep going on and on, and yeah. So I appreciate that all the people that have sort of, you know, gone on and stayed with us, because I mean, we're already over half an hour. You know, that you're still, you know, still enjoying all this. Yeah. So how long now you know, she's kind of, I guess, addressed all my questions. I guess she's now bouncing the questions back to me, right? So here's where she starts asking some questions, right? Why don't you tell me more about you? Okay, how long have you been into anime? Do you collect any manga or comics? Do you speak or translate Japanese? Because if you do, I really could easily supply you with boxes of stuff to translate. Just kidding. That's always the user. The you know, Japanese people that could do translations were highly sought after at this time. She continues on, just describing some different things that she knows about. She then describes, you know, it just occurred to me that you just might like to join the Gundam APA, Amateur Press Association. It's a fan publication that comes out every 2 months. I am a member. There is still a few slots left too. Its members all contribute an X number of pages to each issue, in which they mail to the official editor, who then puts it all together and mails everyone back a copy. So this is sort of a, you know, kind of an interesting idea. So again, you know, just like the CFO, it's a kind of a club that you kind of join, or you spend a little money to get a membership to. And what that does is it allows you to then get the resources, or pay for the resources needed to mail and photocopy and do things, you know, to benefit the entire group. So in this case, it's called the Gundam APA. So they basically do topics about Gundam and, you know, mech shows and anime in general. And it's an amateur press, So basically, everyone basically writes articles about Japanese animation, and it can be really about anything, really. But it's mainly focused on Gundam, and some people draw stuff, some people translate stuff, some people um, take magazine articles and that kind of stuff and kind of convert them into English type of thing. And anyway, what they do is they mail all this information to the central, office or whatever, editor office, and then the editor will take it and put it all together, and format it like a newsletter, and then basically send copies all out to all the members. So it's a good way to get information, and get contributions of like different information together and share it. Because again, you have to remember, like, there's not like a forum or something that's on the internet that you can get a lot of this information from. So this is another very valuable way to get information. Anyway, she continues. It's a great way to get information about shows that you like and get feedback on your artwork. If you're interested, let me know. I'll send you some more information on it. The APA is called the Mobile Suit, the Gundam APA, but it also concerns any giant robot shows. Here I go, rambling again. So again, we just keep going on with topics. Oh well, I guess I don't have to tell you everything in one letter, right? Drop me a line, give me a call, and let me know what you decide. Be talking to you. Ja mata. Cindy. Okay, and you just see just in the bottom corner, I just blocked it out, but just a little bit of it. This is from the 303 area code. Now, this is another thing that's really kind of interesting in like now in the previous year. Because the fact that the internet wasn't the way it is, and the way you get information is so hard to do, both distance wise and just it was just not really readily available. A lot of people were very, it was not unheard of or not uncommon to write things like addresses and phone numbers on letters, as well as have them put in the fanzines and the publications, to have them put out and listed. So, for example, when I joined the CFO Denver, they were able to then send all the members, and to each other's members, everyone else's addresses and phone numbers, so that each person can then contact each other. Okay, so again, if you happen to live in Denver, you'd be able to be put in touch with other people who also live in Denver, who also like anime. Okay, and again, at this time, there was no the same kind of concern about security or privacy or that kind of stuff, like we have now. So again, the environment was different. Okay, there was this sort of level of I wouldn't say trust, but I mean a relaxed attitude towards that kind of stuff, just because there's just so few of us. We it was very important that anyone you sort of try to can get information and to learn and know about more people, it's just invaluable right now. And that's basically just telling you and showing you by this example how how good and how great it can be to meet another person that's able and likes Japanese animation the same way you do. Okay, on the last page she writes, I am interested in, so I guess I gave her a list of different things, and then she picks a whole bunch of things off of my list, and she writes, I am interested in Dagger of Kamui. Dagger, okay, so just kind of go back on this list here, like so Dagger Kamui, right, from 85, Dango from 85, Magic Sword Legend, okay, and then could you give me a brief idea what it is, what the Japanese title is? And again, this is where we a lot of times we take what we get written on the title, and it's some weird title. In this case, it happens to be Yotoden, and we don't know how to obviously write this in English. So we so instead of writing down Yotoden, we write down what the characters translate to when it ends up being like Magical Sword Legend or something like that. This is one of those learning things that we get. So on my tape list, it's written as Magic Sword Legend, but we know it all as Yotoden. SPT Leisnar at this time I must have had some scrambled episodes of SPT Leisnar. And again, Zeta Gundam and Double Zeta Gundam episodes I got from the Japanese grocery stores, so that was always very good. And then so that's the start. Could you give me an idea of how long the first 3 are and what the quality are? That is, again, quality is a big issue. Videos not on my list. So there's some, I guess she got some new videos that she just must have traded from somebody else. She now has Giant Gorg episodes 1 through 6, so another giant robot show, and Zillion episodes 1 through 5, which again from 85. No, 85. I think it's actually even older than that. I think it's 83. That one. Zillion, yeah, the anime that's based off of the Sega Master System light gun. Okay, so she's got the first 5 episodes of that. Okay, so that's the end of her first letter. So you can see it's quite a long sort of letter, and I apologize it takes such a long time to go through it, but this is sort of a lot of information to take in. Now, if you guys want me to go through and do the the reply and maybe the next episode of that, then sure. And put your reply that you want more of this particular story and more letters like this if you need. Write that below.
Okay, hey, this is a long episode, so thank you for staying this long and enjoying that. And I hope you really enjoyed and got kind of that sort of feel. This is kind of like a really good historic episode where we're really kind of really taking you back historically. On how it was like for anime fans, and again, you had new people that again never had to go through this process because technology has basically helped us so much that you don't have to go through this. But again, it's nice to know that this was the process that we had to use to get our anime back then. Okay, so again, don't forget to go down below and click like and subscribe if you haven't. All right. So until then. I'll get some more episodes coming out, and again, I'll do maybe later on we'll do some more different fan letters, just so you can get an idea of all the different things that I've gotten and different letters that I've gotten from different people throughout the years. Okay, so until next time, see you again.